and welcome to Hard Copy, the program where we bring you the people behind the news. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf. Tonight, we turn our attention to the issue of security. To say that the matter is now a source of worry for many Nigerians might be putting it mildly. A 2018 survey conducted by NOI Polls reveals that 7 out of 10 Nigerians say they do not feel secure. A rather worrisome figure when you consider that Nigeria has a population of 200 million people and counting. From Boko Haram in the northeast, banditry and cattle rustling in the northwest, farmers-herders conflict in the Middle Belt and many parts of the country, and kidnapping stretching from north to south, there are a plethora of issues to challenge any security expert. They become even more complex when undertones of ethnicity and religion color the conflict, sometimes making it difficult to find a resolution to the very thorny matter. Kaduna State is no stranger to the conflicts and controversies that sometimes arise in the wake of killings. Kajuru in Kaduna State was in the news in the first quarter of this year when Governor Nasir El-Rufai announced that 66 Fulani people had lost their lives. That figure was later revised.
Report we got is that over 130 people were killed, not even 66. Okay? And the Fulani leaders have provided the names of all these people. We have the list, we will release it to the press. And I don't want to be gross, but we can release pictures of the people killed and how the army had to be there to help bury them 2 days after they were killed, because the bodies were decomposing. But some people are being irresponsible. They are pretending this has not happened because it does not fit their ethnic or partisan narrative. It is totally irresponsible. This can happen to any one of us. And the day we stop sanctifying human life, the day we begin to think that one life is more important for headlines than another, this country is finished. Because every human being has equal capacity for good and evil. And part of the reason why I went out and was appealing for calm is because I know that those that lost their relations can take the law into their own hands unless they see that the government is doing something. This is why you see the CP rushing to court to arraign people, to send a message that we are prosecuting those that did this, so don't take the law into your own hands. Everyone is capable of retaliation. It is not a matter of pride in a civilized society for you to say, I can retaliate, or I'm retaliating, or this is a reprisal attack. I'm surprised that some people even mention that with pride, that these people were killed, so we did reprisal attack, and they're still walking the streets. We're going to go after them. All these people will face the laws of Kaduna State.
Well, the figure announced by the governor elicited strong reactions from sociocultural groups in the state who accused him of bias. However, when all is said and done, will there ever be an end to the rounds of violence which has claimed more lives in 3 months than some states will record in 6 months or even 1 year? My guest tonight is Honorable Yakubu Umar Barde, representing Chikun Kajuru Federal Constituency. He is a minority whip in the 8th House of Representatives and one of the longest-serving members in the House who's just been re-elected for a record 5th term. Yakubu Barde, welcome to Hard Copy.
Thank you, and it's my pleasure to be here.
Well, your state, Kaduna State, has recorded almost or has seen every single strand of the security issues that this country is witnessing, even terrorism. Because some people will say that the current president, Muhammadu Buhari, was attacked in Kaduna State, or a terrorist attack was planned on him in Kaduna State. We don't know what it was then. And it was in Kaduna he experienced it. But the ones that have actually, taken the headlines from Kaduna, kidnapping and the issues of religious and ethnic conflict, they always seem like they're just simmering right there, waiting for someone to ignite them. How did Kaduna come to this?
Thank you very much, and it's my pleasure to be in this program. And I think it's an avenue for one to really vent his mind about what is happening, particularly in my constituency. I'll restrict it to my constituency, then expand it to what is happening in Kaduna State. You see, in the 80s, during the military regime, there was a crisis in Kafanchan. And it was a religious violence. And it extended up to some part of Kaduna Township. You remember in the time of Miss Nigeria contest, there was an article in the paper, and some people felt, oh, Miss Nigeria should not take place in Kaduna State. Again, there was a crisis, but it was turned into religious. Now, it's unfortunate that we find ourselves in this situation. Kaduna State particularly is very cosmopolitan, especially the southern part. There is no tribe in Nigeria that is not in Kaduna State. And there is nobody in the former peaceful Kaduna State that doesn't feel at home with Kaduna State. It was the capital of the entire north. So everybody from the whole north and some part of the south feel Kaduna was a home to them. So because of that nature, Kaduna became very sensitive in terms of policies, in terms of when you talk of religion, when you talk of development, people tend to interpret it as, oh, it is not my own part that is being affected. Now, what has happened of recent? I tell you some of the issues that came that even snowball into crisis and killing were not even religious. Kaswa has been known for a long time having this skirmishes in terms of religion, because we have a lot of indigenous Hausa people who have settled there, but originally, Kaswa was a settlement of the Adara people. And in the wisdom of the former governor, a chiefdom was formed, and all the houses that were in Kaswa were now put under the Adara chiefdom. But Kajuru itself, which is a town, is a very ancient town. It has a chief long, even as old as the Zauzau Emirate. So the small enclave of the houses that were there still have their chiefdom. Now, there are people in Kaswa who felt, oh no, they shouldn't have belonged to Adara chiefdom. And there are people also in Adara people who felt, no, these people belong to us, they must be under us. Now, in a very sensitive situation like that, you have to be careful the way you handle matters. So a little ignition will now snowball into ethnic or violent. Most of the Hausa people, yes, are Muslims, and most of the Adara people, of course, there are some few Adara people that are Muslims. But when something happens like that, they tend to go the ethnic way, because they believe ethnicity or the ethnic tribe is stronger than their affiliation with the Hausa people. So I remember one of the crises that happened. It was just about somebody who stole in the market. Now, the people took laws into their hands, they pursued the person and killed him. And now because he belonged to one particular religion, it was looked at, oh, he has killed this particular religious person. So we must retaliate. And that was what happened. And there was also the issue of intermarriage. There was another lady who later became a Muslim. And of course, I am made to know or understand that in the injunction of Islam, if a lady has turned to Muslim, she can be married out by a foster father who is a Muslim. Now, that did not go down well with the Adara people, because they felt, look, this is my daughter, biological daughter. How will you give her out without my consent? Now, that again snowballed into a lot of killings, and a lot of people died. Now, you can look at the issues that ignited this little issues that now snowball into killings and extended to various parts of Kaduna State. Various parts of Kaduna, because I think the governor during that time tried, because before it could go to other local government, it was nipped at the bud. Because usually what happens is that when people are killed, an open daylight, you bring them to the mortuary where a particular set of people, ethnic or religious, is their own corpse that are brought. The next thing is, oh, so this is the number of our people that have been killed. So they go after those who are of the other ethnic group or religion in their own community and kill them. But I think the government at that time did it best, and we are happy that it did not go, escalated up to beyond repairs. You
seem to be very specific about the governor at that time. You're not mentioning his name, or you're saying the governor
of Kaduna State.
As if the governor at this time is not doing what he can. He's talking about the sanctity of lives. He's saying that we shouldn't elevate any ethnic group over another. Is that what is happening in Kaduna?
It depends on how you want to interpret it. I'm very cautious when I when I speak about leaders, because I've also been a leader. Now, sometimes our actions or our words sometimes can be interpreted in such a negative way or positive way, as the case might be. When the governor mentioned, that's Nasir El-Rufai, when he mentioned that Fulani people were killed, that statement, for me, it wasn't very right. Because there wouldn't be a fight where only a particular ethnic group will be killed. It's not possible. So it means that some other people were killed. So what I expected at that time the governor to say was that people were killed, because I have it on authority that Kaduna people were also killed. There's no way two people will fight.
Was there a fight? Because that's another thing. Oftentimes what we hear or what we see on television are that villages are attacked and that these people were not even able to put up a fight. They don't even know who the attackers are. We've heard all sorts of theories about the people who are, causing this crisis. Some even say, oh, no, they're not even from within Kaduna itself. They're from outside. We've seen what is happening in Zamfara, for instance, where bandits from even outside the country are attacking communities and even trying to take over territories, so to speak. What do you make of the people who say this crisis sometimes are not from the inside, they are from outside?
Yes, that goes down to tell you that, you see, if you look at those people that are causing the killings, let me be specific now, in my local government, in Chikun or Kajuru, most of them are Fulani herdsmen. Most of them that attack the community. Now, the problem we have, which this country must look for a solution to it, is this free movement of people. Now, if you say Fulani people were killed, you agree with me, there are Fulani people as far as Lagos. There are Fulani people in Oyo State. But the Adara man or the Gbagi man is only in Kaduna State. So who brings help to him? The issue here is that when Fulani all over the world or all over the country, when one of them is killed, they make calls. And with the connivance of a few who are with us, we now call them, invite them, and they'll come in and attack and go. And that is where, again, the government has not really found a solution. What do I mean by this? Now, the Fulani herdsman comes, attack, and run away. Nobody is arrested. You want to tell me that these people cannot be found?
You talk about people attacking and running away, but you also talk about leadership. Yeah. I think for a lot of people, the question they'll be asking you as a leader, somebody who's been elected to represent these people, I know that you have raised this issue on the floor of the House of Representatives, and we'll come to that in a moment, but as somebody who has a voice, who has been elected to be the voice of the people, how have you raised this issue within Kaduna itself to try and find a solution to this, sometimes senseless killings? Yes,
the little thing we can do as a parliamentarian is, of course, dialogue among my people, where I call them, even in different fora, and I tell them, look, this is our state. We have no other place to go to. And let me tell you the truth about what is happening generally. For me, I think it's even the fault of government. Why do I say so?
Who is government in this instance?
Not even the present government, because there was no national planning about these herdsmen. And I tell you why. In the 80s or 70s, when you talk about cattle routes, that was very convenient. It was a plan by government to have cattle route so that these pastoralists could follow and feed their cow or their cattle. Today, because of population explosion, having cattle route is no longer feasible. It's not going to work.
Is that what is still causing the conflict?
It's part of it, because the Fulani man has to feed his cattle. Now, in a situation where the land, most of the land, because of population explosion, is taken over by buildings, industries, and settlements, the land available for grazing is becoming smaller. So it is the responsibility of previous government to say, look, if the population of these Fulani people or the cattle rearers increases, what is the option we have for them?
Well, Honorable, you were talking about lack of planning. The federal government has come up with, they've identified this lack of planning as one of the problems. They've come up with solutions which have not been popular in many quarters. And I don't think it has been popular in southern Kaduna as well, when they talk about grazing reserves and the solutions that they have come up with. Did you support that first and foremost when it came up on the floor of the House of Representatives? Because first and foremost, I think that was the first place we heard about cattle grazing reserves.
I am very opposed to having grazing reserve.
Yes.
But I support ranching. If you say grazing reserve, the issue here is this. Whose land are you going to take and use for that reserve? Whose land? Is the government going to buy it off from the locals? Or how is it possible? Now, I go back to what I said, there was lack of planning. For me, I think government deliberately should have said, look, first and foremost is to educate these Fulani people. That the herdsmen, going around will not help you. It's not even going to help your cow because the productivity will be reduced.
Every time you say government, I keep imagining that you imagine that you're not a part of government.
Now, when I said government,
yes,
I mean, it's not something that is during the democracy. What I want to look at is what was the planning? What was the plan that the government had when they expected that there will be increase in the number of pastourists or herdsmen? What was the plan? I give you an example. Today, we're aware that the farmers in Nigeria enjoy what we call subsidy in terms of fertilizer. The government incur the subsidy, pay for it, and give the farmers at lower rate. And the farmer is a private business, isn't it? But the government, in its own wisdom, felt, look, if we don't encourage these farmers, they may not produce enough to feed this country.
Are you advocating for subsidy for herdsmen?
Sure. Sure. If the government can help subsidize them to have ranches, why not? Because it will bring peace to us, and also it will help them to be sedentary or to be in a place.
So ranches, but not grazing reserves?
Not grazing reserves.
How are you promoting that within even your own constituency and at the state level? Because you might say that you do not work at the state level, you are at the federal constituency level. But when you see that a crisis is, envelops the people of your state and your governor has primary responsibilities to the people of that state, shouldn't you be engaging him as well?
Sure, I've been engaging him, and honestly speaking, he is very amiable to me and is accessible to me. And each time I have the opportunity, I tell him my own view, which I know will help. It may not necessarily be correct, but of course, if two good heads come together, there may be something good that will come out of it. I strongly believe that having ranches and the government subsidize it for the herdsmen, it will go a long way. If we don't do that, there is a problem that we are going to face in future, because the population will keep increasing. Look at the government in its wisdom. It felt that, the nomads, if we don't create schools for them, then we will have a big problem, because they will be illiterate, and at the end of the day, if there is high level of illiteracy among the nomads, it's going to be a problem to the country. And in the government wisdom, they created National Commission for Nomadic Education, whereby each hamlet or where the nomads are present, schools are built for them by the federal government. That was a good planning. Why can't we do the same when it comes to the breeding or the grazing of their cattle? And mind you, it is not only the Fulanis that are herdsmen in this country. There are a lot of tribes that also have cattle. So it is not something to do about a particular tribe. It is something to do with everybody who is a pastoralist.
Would you say that that would solve the kidnapping issue that has also happened in your area? I think a case in point was what happened at the castle only recently, at the Kajuru Castle, where some Nigerians were taken, and an expatriate as well was also kidnapped. Will it also solve that problem? Yeah,
let me use this opportunity to offer my condolences to the United Nations, because one of the person that was killed there was a worker, or I think he worked with UN. So let me offer my condolences to them. You see, the issue of kidnapping in this country today has become a business, and it's not restricted to any tribe. But unfortunately, we know that some people that are more involved in it, it's just a business where people feel the best way to make money is to kidnap people and demand for ransom.
What are the solutions?
For me, I think government should remedy the situation by making sure that businesses operate in a very conducive atmosphere. I give you an example. Look at the number of textiles in Kaduna State today. We have over 4 or 5 big textiles that employed over thousands, I would say even nearly 50,000 of people. Mind you, these people today are jobless. And I was happy during this present administration when the president said he's going to revamp the textile industries. Unfortunately, I don't know the hiccup they have, but as I speak to you, these textile industry are lying there fallow, not being put in place.
So you think that there's a strong connection with unemployment?
There is, of course,
what is going on?
People, anyway, some people are very gullible because they want to make money. They want to make money quick. Such people, I think, the right of the law should fully be implemented on them. And there are people who genuinely could not withstand hardship, so they go into all types of vices that is not good for the country.
I'm going to ask you one last question, and this borders on the leadership of the 9th Assembly. You have been in one of the principal offices in the 8th Assembly. How do you think it's going to play out with what is going on within the APC with the leadership of the 9th Assembly, especially in the House of Representatives?
I think it's going to be very good, and at the end of the day, it will be better for Nigeria.
What is going to be very good?
The leadership that we are going to have.
Do you support the parties trying to pick their candidates, or do you think that the House should be the one to determine, regardless of whatever the party
I thank you
thinks?
for that question. There's nothing wrong in the party saying this is what we want. But there's everything wrong if the party want to impose it on the National Assembly. The party can impose it on their members. But when you come to the House, the other parties have a say. So if they think that's the best way to go, good and fine. But you see, it will be very difficult for them to buy or make the other parties to be comfortable with them if they want to insist that this is what we want and it must take place. I think that's not the way. That's not the way it should go. It's about lobby. It's about lobbying. Even if they have a candidate, what they should do is to even keep it to their chest and make sure that that candidate, their preferred candidate, work among his peers who are in other parties to make him the speaker.
It's a fine place to leave it. I have to thank you for coming on Hard Copy, Honorable Yakubu Umar Barde.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
Well, that's the program tonight, but please do send us a comment or two using the handles on your screen. If you miss any edition, channelstv.com is a place to catch up. Thank you for watching. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf. Good night.